Hey guys, Yummy here again, and today I'm going to be talking about what Visceral and EA can do to save the Hardline IP, that is, keep it from falling into that giant pit of doom that is currently slipping towards. Just trying to revive the franchise that they're trying to start so badly, and just talking about why the current Hardline just isn't that good, and what I believe they can do to improve. Now, looking at Hardline at face value, ignoring all of the hate and just utter bullshit considering people's hatred towards Visceral and Battlefield Hardline in general, you can see that for a first attempt at a AAA first-person shooter by Visceral Studios, Hardline is actually pretty good. Now, it may not have been on par as Battlefield 4, at least Battlefield 4 once it got fixed. Just considering like how much effort they clearly put into the game, I think it's actually really disrespectful to insult them as badly as people are doing, but it has a lot of potential. Visceral Studios has a lot of potential in this franchise, and they were showing it especially with a lot of aspects of the campaign where it was really story driven, and there were a lot of like more RPG-ish aspects every once in a while, kind of like in detective things in the campaign. So you can see that there was a lot of potential in the franchise that it's definitely going to become, and I definitely think it should be separate from Battlefield. And that was definitely the biggest criticism of Hardline, is that it felt like a discount Battlefield 4, even though it was actually the same price as Battlefield 4. It just seemed like a way more dumbed down and average version of the game, especially at the first beta. The first beta that came out like a year and a half or so before the game came out, and that was so painfully average and almost going towards, pretty bad, really. So there was so much criticism towards it, and it's understandable. It's just, for the theme they were trying to do, cops and robbers, they're just so limited from the Battlefield experience. Battlefield's supposed to be tanks and attack helicopters and massive engagements, and cops and robbers, no matter how cartoony you show it in a game, it's not going to be, it's just not going to be as explosive and realistically dynamic as a standard Battlefield military shooter game. And that's just really what held it back. So honestly, I think they need to separate Hardline from Battlefield, make it its own individual IP, and then they'll be free to do whatever they creatively can to make it a very interesting game, something that people want to buy separately from Battlefield 4. The bad thing is, I don't think EA is actually would ever allow this to happen. I think they're really set on their ways, so I highly doubt that they're ever going to separate Hardline from Battlefield, but I'm just saying for this video how interesting they could make it separately. I mean, they could... That's the thing, is I think they need to get rid of the multiplayer, or at least get rid of the first-person shooter standard Battlefield-style multiplayer that they had in the first Hardline game, and expand on the elements they messed with in the campaign. I think they need to just go a completely new campaign. Don't worry about Nick, whatever his name was in the main campaign. I don't know. I didn't buy Hardline. I was one of the people wise enough not to buy it. But they need to expand on this kind of detective thing, finding things in these big sandbox areas that they like teased to us before the game came out. And whenever the game came out, you saw that there actually wasn't as much of that in the campaign as they seemed to advertise, which made it feel a lot more generic and a lot more like Battlefield 4's campaign. So if they separated, they can really expand on the police themes. They could honestly make it much more of a realistic police kind of simulator in video games. So we haven't really had that in video games, if you think about it. I can't name a police simulator. So they could actually make something that's really unique and interesting. And also they could keep the police TV show kind of style of making their story, but if they just separate it from this Battlefield confinement, they could just maybe take like a few years to make it instead of 2 or every other year, whatever they're trying to do. And they could put so much more effort to it, so much more detail into their environments, widen it out, and make it a really awesome game. And I know Visceral can do it. They've shown their potential in Battlefield Hardline, no matter how average the game really was. Considering it was their first attempt, it was a great first attempts. So now I know that Battlefield Hardline as it is right now is completely dead. I mean, honestly, they released the new DLCs that temporarily spike the player base a little bit for a week or two, but to be honest, right now, as the game is right now, it's basically just humping a dead monkey. It's not really going to revive the player base and bring any people back. They need a rapid change in direction for the franchise in order for it to survive, because quite honestly right now, if they even bothered to make a Hardline sequel that's almost exactly the same as this current Hardline, the entire franchise is going to crash and burn, and I fear it's gonna bring Visceral Studios down with it. So I really hope that they separate, try to go their own way, make Hardline just its own IP, just Hardline, like maybe with a subtitle after that, but like Hardline being the name, no Battlefield, and allow Visceral Studios to creatively go their own way and make the game as they want to, not try to make some kind of annualization of the Battlefield franchise, which I think is slowly going to ruin the franchise. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you agreed with some of my points, or if you disagree with some of them, make sure you put them down in the comment section down below. And if you guys like this, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And until next time, this is Yummy. Goodbye and good hunting.